At the Kessler home, married couple Linda and Mark watch their daughter Chloe play the violin. Before leaving for their anniversary dinner, Linda thanks the nanny, Barbara, for staying with Chloe. She asks if Barbara wants anything from outside, but the older woman doesn't respond, which worries Linda. After they leave, Chloe tells Barbara she's hungry and wants macaroni and cheese. Somewhere else, a person draws over a photo of Linda with a black marker. This person watches security video showing someone leaving a package at a hospital, then picks up a teddy bear. At the restaurant, Mark gently teases Linda for checking her phone. Meanwhile, back at home, Barbara forgets she is cooking. Chloe sees her struggling and tries to help by pouring pasta into the boiling water. Barbara warns her the water is too hot. As Barbara moves Chloe's hand away, the box falls in and hot water splashes on Chloe's hand. While at dinner, Linda's phone rings. She tries to ignore it, but Mark tells her to answer. Later, they return home to find EMTs treating Chloe's burn. One of them says Barbara may have dementia and should go to the hospital for a checkup. Later, Linda gently tells the sorry nanny that she needs to see a doctor. When the older woman asks if she can tuck Chloe into bed, Linda says they've decided to let her go. As Linda puts Chloe to bed, the girl says her hand still hurts, so Linda gives her a tablet for the pain. In their room, Mark suggests Linda take time off work to care for Chloe, but she says they rely on her income. Mark explains he only needs a few more weeks to finish the house renovation and will be gone during that time. They hope to sell the house for 3 times what they spent on it. Still, Linda knows they can't both stop working, so they agree they'll need to hire a new nanny. A few weeks later, Linda attends a meeting at the ad agency. Her boss, Reynolds, gives her the lead on the Hooper account after she shares a creative idea for promoting the brand's canned spaghetti. Reynolds tells Gary to assist, but Linda says she can handle it on her own. Back in her office, her assistant Jess asks how the nanny search is going. Linda says online ads haven't helped and it's hard to find the right person for Chloe. Jess suggests using hidden cameras, but Linda says she hopes to find someone she can trust without needing that. At the construction site, Chloe tells her dad she's bored and wants to go home. Mark asks her to play in the front yard while he finishes his work. Near the porch, Chloe notices a nail gun and picks it up out of curiosity. Luckily, someone stops her before she can use it. That person is Heather, a teenage girl who says she was walking by when she saw Chloe holding the tool. Chloe shows her burn, saying other kids call it monster skin. Heather tells her not to listen to them, saying they're just jealous. She then shows Chloe a scar on her own leg. Later, Linda comes home, and Mark introduces Heather. She happens to be looking for a babysitting job. Mark sends Chloe to show Heather her room, then tells Linda he thinks the teen is a great fit. That evening, they interview Heather. She says she has babysitting experience and gives Mrs. McCready as a reference. Before bed, Linda calls Mrs. McCready, who speaks highly of Heather. After the call, Linda tells Mark she wants to buy a nanny cam. He says she's being too cautious but agrees. Linda then calls Heather to say she got the job. On the phone, Heather thanks her, holding back tears. The next evening, Linda visits a spy shop and buys a hidden camera that doesn't record sound since the seller says that could be illegal. The following day, she watches the camera feed from her office. That afternoon, Barbara comes by to see Chloe. When Heather sees her, she tells Chloe to go inside and harshly blames Barbara for hurting the child. Moments later, Linda arrives and asks what happened. Heather lies, saying Barbara yelled at her for taking her job. Linda believes her, gives her a hug, and invites her to stay for dinner. While setting the table, the phone rings, and Heather answers. Barbara, thinking she's speaking to Linda, apologizes for what happened to Chloe. Coldly, Heather tells her the family wishes she would die. Back at the table, Heather lies again, saying it was just a telemarketer. During dinner, Chloe mentions seeing Barbara. Linda says she'll call her the next day. That night, someone sneaks into Barbara's home. The following day, police call Linda and tell her Barbara died the night before. They believe it was suicide. On the day of the funeral, Linda finally tells Chloe about Barbara's death. Without being asked, Heather says that suicide is common in people with dementia. This surprises Linda since she hadn't mentioned the cause of death. While the parents attend the funeral, Heather teaches Chloe a monologue from Little Women and spends the rest of the day cleaning. When Linda and Mark return, she brings up a family friend's son who doesn't remember anyone named Heather at the local high school, even though Heather said she went there. Inside, they notice the house is unusually clean. When Linda checks on Chloe, she finds Heather asleep next to her. The teen wakes up and says Chloe had a nightmare and asked her to stay with her. Linda tells Heather she doesn't need to clean the house, since her job is to take care of Chloe. She adds that Barbara had the same issue, doing too much. Hurt, Heather quietly excuses herself and leaves the room. Later that night, Linda watches the nanny cam and finds it odd that Chloe and Heather talked for 3 hours. Mark doesn't think it's a big deal. He reminds her that Heather is helping out, especially since Linda is often too busy to handle chores. The next day, Chloe tells her mom she likes Heather's cooking. When Linda asks if she's been practicing violin, the girl says she's preparing the monologue Heather taught her for the talent show instead. Later, when Heather arrives, Linda asks what they talked about for so long. Heather is surprised and asks how Linda knows. To change the subject, Linda firmly tells her to make sure Chloe practices the violin, not the monologue. After Linda leaves, Heather starts searching the living room, looking for a camera. Meanwhile, Mark considers checking the nanny cam feed, but decides it feels wrong. At work, Jess sees Linda watching the camera and regrets suggesting it. She asks why Linda's so worried. Linda admits she feels jealous. Heather is spending time with Chloe in ways she wishes she could. Jess reassures her there's nothing to fear, and Linda agrees to stop spying. At the newly finished house, Mark shows a couple around who are interested in buying it. But when he switches on the lights, the chandelier sparks and the bulbs explode, scaring the buyers away. As he rushes after them, Mark hits his knee. He calls Linda to tell her what happened, but she's distracted with work and offers little comfort. Later, Mark comes home and relaxes on the couch with a drink. Heather joins him and helps with his sore knee. She even gives him some of Chloe's pain medicine. When she hears he had a bad day, she shares that she argued with her boyfriend. Mark asks why, and she jokingly says she won't tell him unless he gives her a drink. Eventually, Heather says the fight was about her wanting a family, while her boyfriend only cares about his career. Mark tells her she's young and has plenty of time ahead. Suddenly, Heather leans in to kiss him. Mark quickly pulls back and ends the conversation. As he heads upstairs, Heather says she knows about the hidden camera and asks if he's been watching her. Shocked, Mark tells her to leave. Once in his room, he checks the nanny cam feed on his laptop and sees Heather undressing in front of the camera. That night, Linda reviews the day's camera footage, but it stops right before Heather begins undressing. The next day, she goes back to the spy shop and buys new cameras that can record sound. She installs them around the house. On the day of the talent show, Linda leaves work early to attend, but her boss, Reynolds, sees her. She tells him it's a family emergency and rushes out. At home, Heather helps Mark fix his tie and tells him they didn't do anything wrong. After all, he only watched her. Mark pretends not to understand, but his nervous reaction gives him away. In the car, Heather makes a fake call to the police, acting scared. Later, a police officer pulls Linda over, saying someone reported a car like hers in a possible child abduction. That night, Linda apologizes to Chloe for missing the show, but the upset girl runs to her room. Linda confronts Heather for making Chloe do the monologue, but Heather says it was Mark's idea. Linda also questions her about the high school story. Heather admits she lied. She ran away from home 6 months ago because of abuse. She begs them not to contact her parents and apologizes. Mark tells her to go home and says they'll talk in the morning. After Heather leaves, he criticizes Linda for missing Chloe's performance and blaming Heather. Linda explains the police stop, but Mark says she always has an excuse. He adds that at least Heather showed up for Chloe. Later, as Linda tucks Chloe into bed, her daughter says Heather told her she was sad before she met their family. When Linda says Heather won't be working for them anymore, Chloe gets upset and says she loves her and wants her to stay. Later, Linda calls the number Heather gave for her reference. To her shock, Heather's own phone rings, revealing she lied and pretended to be Mrs. McCready to get the job. Meanwhile, Heather sneaks into the renovated house late at night. At home, Mark tells Linda he took down the living room camera. Linda points out Heather lied, but Mark defends her, comparing it to Linda's own past. He accuses Linda of being jealous because Heather has become closer to Chloe, even suggesting Linda never wanted kids. Linda argues it's the lies, but Mark insists he won't let her fire Heather. Linda then accuses him of being attracted to Heather, which he denies. Meanwhile, Heather watches the argument through a live feed from the attic. The next day, Linda watches the nanny cam and hears Heather mention Jake Lambert. She writes it down. Her boss, Reynolds, warns her not to let personal matters interfere with work. Later, Linda visits a spy shop to search for Jake Lambert. The shop owner finds a match in Florham, about 60 miles away. Linda leaves a voicemail for Mark, saying she'll be working late. Unbeknownst to her, Heather hears the message. At the Lambert home, Linda meets Jake and his wife, Gail, Heather's parents. Back at the Kessler house, Heather offers Mark a drink and reminds him Linda won't be home. Jake and Gail express worry over Heather's disappearance. Linda asks to see a photo, and Jake shows disturbing pictures of Heather in revealing clothes. Shocked, Linda lies and says the girl she knows isn't their daughter. Meanwhile, Mark starts feeling dizzy after drinking the drink Heather gave him. When she calls him for dinner, she's changed into a nightgown and gives him another drink with powder mixed in. As Linda leaves, Gail runs after her, revealing she knows Linda found Heather. She begs Linda to keep the girl away from Jake, hinting at past inappropriate behavior. That night, Linda tries to talk to Mark, but he pretends to be asleep. The next day, she tells him Heather was telling the truth about her troubled past. Mark agrees they should let Heather go. Heather arrives, and Linda tells her she spoke to her parents but didn't reveal her location. Heather tearfully says she just wanted a new family, and thanks Linda for supporting her to contact the police. During Linda's presentation at work, a video glitches, revealing Mark and Heather. Linda is fired in humiliation. At home, Linda confronts Mark, who apologizes and claims he doesn't remember. She realizes Heather was manipulating them. Linda rushes to Chloe's room but finds it empty. The police inform them that Heather's foster parents haven't seen her in months. Linda learns Heather was abandoned as a baby outside St. Anthony's Hospital, which shocks her. Feeling guilty, Mark leaves to search for Chloe. Linda watches the nanny cam footage and sees Heather leaving a message, demanding to meet at the renovated house if Linda wants to see Chloe. Linda grabs something from a trinket box before heading out. At the house, Linda finds Heather in the attic, holding a nail gun and threatening Chloe. Heather explains she believes Linda abandoned her as a baby, left with only a teddy bear. Linda admits she was a scared teenager who wanted a family to care for her baby. Heather, hurt by Linda's abandonment, wants to destroy her family. Linda shows Heather a gold necklace, saying it's all she left with her daughter. She then reveals that her real daughter died 8 years ago, and her adoptive father returned the necklace. Heather refuses to believe her, and when Linda tries to grab the nail gun, Heather knocks her out. Mark arrives and pretends to support Heather's plan, but she sees through him and shoots him. Linda tackles Heather and pushes her out of the window, causing her to fall. Months later, the family is happy in their new beach house. On a bus, a blonde woman with a baby boy says his name is Mark, just like his father.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.